welcome to Reconciler 9. This is the new look and feel of Snowden's flagship mining intelligence and reconciliation software. I previously did a video on the continuum, and I just wanted to move on from the continuum to show how Reconciler can highlight where there's discrepancies along the mine value chain. That is, where there's variances between different nodes on the mine value chain. In the previous video, I explained that this was a mimic of the mine value chain that's on your site, and we looked at why there might be a difference between mine production and mine delivered, as we can easily see in the waterfall chart, that there's that big discrepancy for tonnes. We all know that there's many stockpiles on site, and so we've got material that's going onto a stockpile and what's coming off a stockpile having a big play in what's actually been mined from the pit or the underground and what is being delivered to the crusher. So we're just going to investigate what's happening around that stockpiling and stockpile feed metric within the software. And to do that, the first thing I want to do is actually have a look and see how well we're mining against the plan. So for that, I will look at the mining analysis screen, I will look at the crusher feed screen, and I'll close off with looking at the material movement screen. So let's jump through to the mining analysis screen now. So I'm just loading up a pre-configured filtered screen, and that's going to show us the same period that we had on the continuum, which was the December 2018 pit survey, for the same location and for ore only. And I'm interested in ore only, not the waste movements at this stage, because I am interested in what's happening around those stockpiles, those ore stockpiles. So what have I got here? I'm looking at the monthly plan, and we can see what monthly plans that I'm looking at. I could have loaded the weekly or a budget or any other type of plan that you have, as well as any activated models or any versions of any of those mine plan types. I could look at tons, I could look at volume, and then I could look at any of the attributes, but I'm just going to look at tons for the time being. I have got the opportunity to group my metrics, so my direct feed metric by a certain way, my stockpiling metric another way, and waste movements. At the moment, I've got direct feed just turned to just the total number, but I could have looked maybe perhaps at the source bench or the source pit, and it would have given me those the numbers behind each of those. Stockpiling, I'm going to look at the destination stockpile, so I want to know what material has come out of the mine and gone to which particular stockpile. I could be looking at material type, lithology type. I could still be looking at source material that's gone to stockpiles, and then waste movements. Again, we could look at that, the grouping there, and I've chosen to select none. So what the waterfall chart is showing me is that I had 1,896,000 tonnes planned to be mined from the pit in this stage, in this demo set, against an actual production of 2.17. So now I start to look at the stockpiling metric to see what's actually happened in here. And I can see that I've got a lot more material that's going to MG4, TSP, HG3 and MG1 against what I planned. And then if I look down below, we can see that the mine plan compliance, so what I actually did plan, and let's just get rid of this filter, and what we actually did mine is completely different. And we know that that's because of this stockpiling component. We've mined a lot more material than what we planned to mine, and we've sent it to stockpiles. So there's an added cost anytime we send material to a stockpile, so that's something to be aware of. Now let's look at the other side, and let's look at the crusher feed. So now I'm interested in what material has come off a stockpile and been sent to the crusher. And again, I'm just loading up a pre-configured screen. And we'll see that the survey date is the same, the location, and I'm looking at all crushers. So any material that's gone to a crusher for this particular period. Again, I've selected not to group my direct feed material, but I wanted to look at what my stockpile feed was. I can see the material that's come from each of those stockpiles, and you can see when you look at that monthly plan, we had hardly any material coming from the MG4, coming from the TSP. We've got an extra 153,000 coming from the TSP. MG1, we haven't sent much material, or sent half the amount of material than what we planned to. But then we look at this direct feed and we can see that we've actually had a lot of material go from the pit straight through to the crushers. So whilst the overall number is looking quite good compared to what we planned, that 1.6 against the 1.6, we know that there's actually, we didn't follow the plan too well in regards to the stockpile feed component, and maybe, the direct feed as well. The box and whisker chart below is giving us an indication of the range of grades that have come from that particular location. So from the pit, we can see that we've got quite a large range of grade. MG1 not so much, and TSP a fair range as well, with some planned values. So we've been sending material of a higher grade than what we plan to send to the crusher. So just lastly, I'll just touch on the material movement, and again, I'm going to be looking at the same period for the same location. I could start to drill down and look at a particular bench, say that we've had more material come out of the plan than what we planned. If I look at the numbers here, I'll see a raw number, I'll see another raw number. My raw number in this data set refers to my haulage. I could rename that to haulage. So let's just, what's this one here? Let's just rename that to haulage and apply that. We can see now we've got haulage against planned. I could have called that monthly. And I've got another data set here that we can remove. So let's just remove that one and apply and close. And we've got some two numbers. There's no limit to how many sets of numbers that you have here. You could also do a filter on the planned numbers or on the hauled numbers, and start to look at the stockpile individual numbers that you wanted to. Let's go down to stockpiling. If I open up the haulage for stockpiling, we'll get a table, and that gives me all of the individual movements from the original source. So as I said, this case I'm looking at a pit and the destination that it's gone to, and I can do some filters around that particular table. It also tells me the equipment ID and material type, lithology type, and of course all of the grades have come through from the model. So this just gives you an idea of how you can start to interrogate your data and actually really drill down to the individual movements. And I'm just looking at a 1 month time frame here. You could use this screen on a daily basis so that you could look at what material has been mined in the last 24 hours, and just make sure that your source and destinations are correct. And you can start to see your what's being delivered to the crushers.